When you hit retirement, you will likely have several income sources to withdraw from. But where do you start? In today's video, I want to share a client example of a couple who saved around $2 million across TFSA, RRSP, and non-registered accounts and were ready to retire. They had a withdrawal strategy in mind, but it turns out this strategy was going to cost them hundreds of thousands of extra tax dollars throughout their retirement. So let's jump into the changes we made to their plan that avoided this tax mistake. And as we do, just remember that these strategies can be applied no matter how much you've saved. So John and Andrea are a 60 and 56-year-old couple, and they've been able to build up a nice little nest egg. So they each have a TFSA of $115,000, RRSP of $680, and then a joint non-registered account of $1.3 million. So again, a nice little nest egg. They each have that amount of money. Again, that joint account is shared. Now, the problem they were running into is how to draw down on their money. For them, the concept was, well, let's just leave our RRSP or our RRIF income all the way till we have to touch it, which is a lot of Canadians in the mindset that you have. Let's just live off CPP when we're able to take it, old age security, and especially our non-registered account. Like that is cash. It was recently received by them, so there wasn't a big capital gain on an investment or anything like that. Their $1.3 million was literally cash. Now they had it invested, but they thought like, let's live off that for the next 10, 15 years, however long we can, until we get to the age where we have to start drawing out of our RRIF account. And if we need money in between, we can draw out of our TFSA account. So that was a mentality that they had, is utilize the non-registered account and then dip into the registered accounts. Now, if we jump into John, you'll see kind of what the process is here. His TFSA account, we weren't needing extra money, so we're topping that up every year. His RSPs, we just left, so he's retired, but he's not touching it until the year he's 72, when he's forced to take it out of a RRIF. And then the joint non-registered account is where all of John's money is coming from. If we look at Andrea, it's the same situation. Topping up the TFSAs, not touching the RSPs, and then pulling out of the joint non-registered account. Now the CPP and old age security, you'll see both of them are starting at age 65. So that was the plan for both of them. Again, building up the TFSA, leaving the RRSP, drawing down the non-registered account. Their income requirements in retirement they were asking for was $115,000 in the go-go phase, $90,000 after tax adjusted to inflation in the slow-go phase, and $70,000 in the no-go phase. Now, you can see here their total assets at the end of the day, they still have $6.4 million. So they're not spending all their money. So if I looked at this plan, they'd say, well, we have enough money. We have lots of money left over. We're hitting our target. Like, what's the issue with the plan? And to be honest with you, on the surface level, you say, you're hitting all your income needs. You have a lot of money left over. So why wouldn't this plan be good? It kind of checks a lot of the boxes. And I think a lot of people would just say, yeah, I'm on a good path. I have enough money. All is good. And I think that's where a lot of Canadians go wrong. They don't kind of dig deeper. So let me show you kind of what we did with the client and the end result and just compare the two scenarios. Again, small little changes that make a big impact for them on how much income there is, how much is left in the state, and how much tax they have to pay through retirement. So here's the same client, same situation, except instead of heavily focusing on the joint non-registered account, we're gonna employ the RRSP meltdown, meaning that we're gonna start strategically pulling out of that RRIF account right away, as soon as they retire. We're going to do it in a tax efficient manner. And then we're also going to delay CPP. So you can see here for John, we've delayed his CPP all the way till age 70. And we've started taking out his RRIF money right away. It's $60,000 all the way down to age 69. Then when his CPP starts, we've scaled that back to $36,000. Now we can see because we've melted down the RRSP, his RRSP is gone by his early 80s, meaning that his tax-free savings account is much bigger, his non-registered account is there as well. So again, drawing down that RRSP, we've still left the old age security at age 65. For Andrea, it's the same picture. We've drawn out a little bit of a different number here because she's a bit younger, just the way the tax flow worked, but $48,000, then scale it back to $36,000, and again, gone by about her early to mid 80s. So the same principles apply within both John and Andrea's cash flow plan. And the whole idea of an RRSP meltdown is really, how do we draw out of your RRSP or your RRIF account as quickly and as tax efficiently as possible? Everyone's situation is different. For John and Andrea, they had a big non-registered account, which can play a big factor. If we just leave that non-registered account, the gains on there are taxable every single year. So that has to be an impact and part of the overall plan and accounting for that. So if we're pulling down more to the RRSP account, we're leaving that taxable account, there could be more taxes there. So let's look at the comparison between both what they were doing and what we recommended. Snap Projections, the software we use, just came out with a great new comparison tool that we can use showing the comparisons between different scenarios. So what we're looking at here is that base scenario, what they were doing, and the RRSP Meltdown, what we recommended to them. Now again, their incomes were the same, the 115, 90, 70, so that doesn't change. So if we look at the retirement spending, it's on average $142,754. Now this is in nominal dollars. Again, if I go to real dollars, you can see their average is 89,875. Might make more sense based on the 115, 90, and 70. Now, if we look at, I want to keep it in nominal dollars. I can flip back and forth though. You can see their lifetime personal tax. Because of the RRSP Meltdown, and this goes from age 60 and 56, their current ages, all the way until age 95, you can see they're paying $184,000 less in tax. So they've collected the same amount of money, they've paid a lot more tax. You can see also that because they've delayed CPP, they've collected over $500,000 more in government benefits, and through strategic income planning and tax planning, they've also avoided some old age security clawback. Now, if we're looking at their estate, so they've had the same amount of income, they pay less tax, but they drew down their accounts a lot earlier. We can see here their estate before tax is actually less with the RRSP Meltdown, but because they've done tax planning, the tax bill is $353,000 less, meaning that their estate after tax, which is what matters. What am I getting after tax to pass on to kids, grandkids, charities, wherever it's going? $218,000 more. So we've have more in the estate, we've paid less tax, we're in a much better position. And if I break it down even further, we'll see that the TFSAs is in a better situation, the non-reg, it's a much more flexible account. So as we were working with John and Andrea here, and we worked through this process with them, we showed them that, look, this puts you in a much better position from an estate standpoint. Like if you're not too worried about, hey, we have enough regardless, like we'll never spend all our money. Well, what you want to do is create flexibility. So the question and the conversation beyond this was, okay, well, you have a couple kids. Like, how do we want to help them? When can we help them? How much can we help them with? So there's more layers to this. But I wanted to highlight this because this is a very common conversation we have with clients of, yes, the way you're doing it is going to work. You're not going to run out of money, but are you paying too much in taxes? We're all tired of paying taxes. I'm tired of paying taxes, and trust me, I know you are. I see it in the comments. I hear it all the time. I don't blame you. We're tired of paying taxes. We pay tax on tax on tax. Yet many of you are living in retirement based on how John and Andrea are currently planning to. But because they met with us, we put a proper plan together, they're going to draw the same amount of income, but they're paying way less, hundreds of thousands less in tax. There's going to be hundreds of thousands more in their estate for their kids. And because we created more structure to it, we can actually pass more to their kids earlier, help them out when they need it. So a lot of strategy in this, but just simple changes. And again, their income hasn't changed. It's more of a tax structure and estate structure. For a lot of you, doing a project like this might mean you have more income, right? Maybe you're just on the borderline of being able to retire, but through proper tax planning and income structure, you can actually put more money back in your pocket, meaning that you can retire earlier, or you can have more money in retirement. Now, for those of you saying, yeah, but Adam, like, this shows out till age of 95. Like, that's unrealistic. And it's not too unrealistic based on statistics of a couple that are 56 and 60. But for those of you that are more skeptical, I want to show you some numbers if they passed away a little bit earlier. And because a lot of you think drawing down your RRSP and kind of getting rid of a lot of your money earlier is not a great strategy, I'll show you here. So this is mapped now out instead of age 95. What happens if they both passed away in 2052 when they're 84 and 88? Maybe more realistic in your situation. But you can see that their lifetime personal tax goes up a little bit, but their lifetime government benefits also goes up a little bit. Again, their income's the same. So they've drawn the same amount of income. Yes, they've paid a little bit more tax. They've collected more from the government in the form of government benefits and CPP and old age security. And if we go down to their estate, so if they passed away, they've collected the same amount of money and they have $291,000 more in their estate if they were to die early. So in this case scenario, and again, everyone's situation is different, but in this scenario, yes, they've paid a little bit more tax while they're alive, but they've collected the same amount of income in both situations, and they have $291,000 more to pass on to their kids if they were to die in their early to mid 80s. So to me, that's a better situation. Overall, we're paying less tax. Overall, we're generating the same amount of income, and overall, the estate's in a better situation. So again, run through a scenario like this with your financial planner. Figure out what makes the most sense for you. Again, everybody's situation is different, but situations similar to this we see again and again and again. The solution to it's a little bit different, but the idea on how you're going to draw your income in retirement is likely a little wrong. And again, doesn't always have to be big changes to make big changes on the tax side. Sometimes small changes make a big impact on how much tax you have to pay. So make sure you have the right plan, the right cash flow plan, so that you're paying the least amount of tax and putting the most amount of tax back in your pocket so you can spend it or pass it on to the next generation.